Well, I guess hi, and thanks everyone for joining this evening, and also for inviting me to speak with you guys. My name is Sinead O'Brien. I am the BBC's AI and ML engagement lead, which is a pretty new thing. So basically, I focus on internal and external engagement around AI and ML relationships. And just to set some expectation up front, I am not technical. I don't have a technical background, and so technical questions will probably be quite difficult for me, but you can ask them because I can always get some help with them. So I guess, I guess this is kind of a job I never really saw myself doing. When I left school, I decided I wanted to be an accountant because I wanted a kind of reliable, well-paid, prestigious job. And after a year of studying a commerce degree and failing many exams, I decided it wasn't for me. And so I kind of changed route, and I decided to take social science instead, which was very, very different in so many ways. It didn't really offer those coveted, reliable, well-paid jobs at the time, but the world has changed quite a lot since. And today, I guess, like, the machines are doing a lot of our accounting, and social scientists have stepped into this role between technologists and other disciplines. And I guess in my case, that's at the BBC, editorial, legal, policy, journalists, and folks in different areas who don't necessarily understand the technological side of AI and ML, but need to understand it in order to make what we do successful. So for the last 3 years, I've been working with these teams across the organization who design, build, and interact with machine learning systems. And I guess machine learning is having an increasing impact on our lives in general, but that's both at home and at work. And so today I really wanted to talk to you about the responsible development of ML from a public service perspective. And also how we've been building this community of practice to support all this at the BBC as we move increasingly towards ML applications. So it really means that all of us, and that's like data scientists, social scientists, project managers, journalists, engineers, designers, policymakers, recruiters, HR folks, everyone, they really need to understand how how the ML systems will affect how we work and what we do. And so we need to adapt with technology, and we also need to play to our unique strengths that we kind of recognize at the BBC, but I'm sure it's the same for lots of other organizations. So I guess to say, well, firstly, the BBC is a world leading broadcaster, and I work in design and engineering, which drives the reinvention, I guess, of the media. So we deliver TV, radio, and online services to millions of people every day. And for us, AI and ML promises to transform creative capabilities as well as productive capacity around, so I guess for organizations in both the media and broadcast kind of sectors. And the BBC has then publicly committed to delivering our AI and ML technologies in a responsible way. And so we have a lot of stuff, right? We do a lot of stuff at the BBC, and I really mean a lot. So I'm going to break it and share this video because I think it explains better what I mean. So hopefully this works for us. Okay, so I guess that kind of shows quite well that it's a lot of content, right? It's a lot of stuff. And our challenge is to get all of this in front of our audiences in an appropriate way so that we can, educate, entertain, and inform, but at the same time that we're getting people what it is that they need and want. So public service obviously has been at the heart of everything that we do at the BBC. And public service broadcasting was developed for everyone right from the beginning. So in 1922, the BBC was founded, and its mission was to inform, and is to this day, to inform, educate, and entertain the public. And that means that we act on behalf of the audiences by giving them agency, but our organization exists in order to serve individuals, but also society as a whole. And in 1926, so almost 100 years ago, the original BBC Royal Charter set out the guidelines for governance of the British Broadcasting Corporation. I don't expect you to be able to read this, don't worry, you don't need to, I find it difficult myself. But the Charter essentially says that the BBC is here to deliver the benefits of communications technology in the interests of all, so that's everyone. And of course, communications technology has changed quite a lot in the last 100 years. So in 2017, as a response to the House of Lords Select Committee on Artificial Intelligence, the BBC committed to doing 3 specific things. So we said we believe that the BBC can play a public service role in the development of the right environment for AI and machine learning by doing these 3 specific things. So the first one was informing the debate through our editorial output. And it's essential that each and every citizen is informed about the developments of AI and ML, and they can make informed decisions about its use for themselves. And of course, we can obviously, as public service broadcaster, play a huge role in that. The second kind of area that we can make an impact is bringing partners together, using our unique convening power to bring together leaders from public service institutions, but also academia and commercial sectors around the biggest issues, and by sharing combined knowledge and acting as trusted impartial bridge between communities with just bring different perspectives together to do this, and something that we've been doing quite well over the last couple of years. I can share more in that in a while. And then the last thing is the responsible technical development. So this is using machine learning to enrich users' lives in a way that upholds the public service values that have guided the BBC for almost a century. So I'm talking about impartiality, independence, accountability, and universality. Well, we had to start acting on this commitment, and this is our vision and mission with regards to AI and ML. So in order to develop and deploy AI and ML at the BBC at scale so that teams can tailor services to individuals whilst upholding our editorial values and bolstering our remit, it's imperative that we take a diverse perspective, and therefore the need for staff from all around the organization to better understand the power and the limitations of data, of algorithms, of machine learning needs to be harnessed. And when I say data, I just mean, well, I don't mean just data, huge. I mean information. So information that's all around us and that we've been navigating from a very early age. So data and ML have started to transform the BBC. And we need to raise awareness because it's more apparent and more real for some people within the organization than it is for others. So if you're working in an organization that's oriented around technology, data, ML, you're going to have an understanding at some level. But there are a lot of other areas around the BBC, such as, you know, we have people working in legal who are writing contracts, or we have people in HR or recruitment who need to understand better in order to hire for these roles, etc. So it needs to be a very broad awareness to have inclusive conversation and therefore decision making. So we want to make sure that everybody is ready really for what's coming next, and that our people have the necessary skills to understand what we're doing with data and ML. And our goal really is to ensure that all members of staff, and that's regardless of technical background, as I say, are able to make informed judgments about the use of data and algorithms. And we also want to mitigate any potential danger of ML introducing bias in decision making and in journalism. And again, there's a huge educational piece around that. And to counter this happening, we need to properly understand how the world of data works. So if you don't understand the data that fuels machine learning, then you can't protect against flawed decision making. And then thirdly, I guess long term, we expect that machine learning will become even more important as a tool to help the BBC to create great audience experiences in the future. So these are all the drivers behind why, as an organization, we need to get better. And it's all part of a broader agenda to ensure that as the BBC starts to develop more data and algorithmically driven services, that we also safeguard our values and our principles. They're at the core of everything we do as an organization. But with all this in mind, I guess we should look at the community, what it exists to do and how people can get involved. And just to say, even though I can't see you all or any of you, I am aware that we've both BBC and non-BBC folks joining this evening. And this is really for everyone, because many of the opportunities are built around collaboration. And so, yes, collaboration internally amongst different disciplines, but also, across different sectors. And we are very quick, actually. I think we're quite good at recognizing the importance of external engagement. So, like, collaborating with others, I guess, really allows us to share ideas and to be inspired and to inspire others and to solve problems. So those of you thinking about building tech communities within your organizations or elsewhere, I guess I hope also that you can draw some energy from what we've been doing at the BBC around building our internal AI and ML community. So yeah, over the last 3 years now, we've been building this community of practice to support all of what I've just spoken about. And the community really brings together many parts of the organization that are involved in machine learning. And our 3 aims are highlighted here. So you can see those. But I guess just to go into a little bit more detail of how we kind of started out, and kind of a bit of repetition here, I guess. But it's been quite an informal start, and actually we continue to carry on in this informal way. We started a machine learning ethical design working group, which is quite a wordy name for a group that really we didn't want to draw too much attention to at the beginning, because we didn't want this to be something that came across as being like the kind of stars and the shiny side of AI. We really wanted to get people who cared about building an ethical framework and an ethical basis involved. And the idea was that we'd meet regularly. So we meet as this group monthly and act as a point of contact between all the different parts. And we have about a membership of this particular group of about 50 people, but in any given month, again, it's informal. So people dip in and dip out. We might have 20 to 30 people. And then monthly, we do a bigger external piece where we'll have a speaker. We've had Dame Wendy Hall and Neil Lawrence and lots of really great speakers come over the last few months. And then we open that up to the entire organization. So we have, I think we've had like 150 plus at some of them, which is really great. And again, that's making people just feel more comfortable and be more aware of this is going on in the organization, and please don't be scared of it. We'd like you to embrace it. So our 2 main focus are supporting the practical development of values aligned or responsible AI and ML use at the BBC, and also helping to connect and coordinate the activity taking place across all the different areas. The group brings together expertise really to share knowledge and then to work collaboratively. So representation in this group that I mentioned of about 50 people, we have people from data science teams, engineering, product, editorial, news, UX and D, legal, policy, data protection, monitoring, journalism, all different areas. And it's really magical to see what happens when all these people come together to work on different pieces of work. But I guess what we're not is quite important here as well, because the group is informal, and we don't determine BBC strategy for AI and ML, and we don't make decisions on architecture or technology frameworks or any of that, and we actually have no direct authority over any deployment of AI and ML within the BBC. But what we do have is people who are responsible for those things, who are part of the working group, and who do offer advice and direction and get involved in the conversation. But aside from this, there's a lot of community activity as well that happens that directly supports the development of responsible ML. And I can share some insights also into these different things. They're both internal and external. So we're bringing people together, obviously, to get involved in these events. So Over the last 3 years, so we've run 3 different annual conferences around media, tech, and society that have a huge focus on AI and ML. And these are run through our BBC Blue Room, but actually the community is a significant vehicle for these, because without the community, they just couldn't happen. Towards the end of last year, we supported the hosting of an EEB workshop to explore how AI is changing the media landscape and where media organizations are finding potential to leverage these new technologies. And then we bring our voices to lots of different external events as appropriate. So I have the virtual CogX here because just a few weeks ago, we did a piece around voice and another piece around disinformation at CogX, but actually there's many more examples. Some of them focus specifically on areas like data science or policy and regulation, and some of them are more broadly addressing AI and ML. And then internally, I guess we run a lot of different things, but one of the most recent kind of events to surface was DataCon, which was really, it came out of one of our central data science team. They're really, really great at getting together. Usually on a Friday, they take maybe an hour or so and they share stories and papers and what they've read, etc. And they, because everybody's been working from home for the last few weeks, the last few months, they decided to take a Friday afternoon, and I said to them at the time, hey, would you think about inviting other data science teams? And they ended up with like 150 people on this afternoon session, which was amazing. And it was, again, people just sharing their interests and their stories and their experiences and the projects they were working on. And it really is, great to see people sharing their passions like this. So it's all founded in the community. And then I guess on a kind of more structured note, as part of our commitment to developing AI technologies responsibly, we've spent time looking at principles and tools to help us avoid the common pitfalls of machine learning development and deployment. So I guess was at the end of the last year, we brought together colleagues from editorial, policy, R&D, so research and development, operational privacy, legal, and our data science teams, and more as well. I mean, there were lots and lots of teams involved. So they came together to discuss how we ensure that our work is in line with our commitment to responsible machine learning. And the outcome was a set of 6 machine learning principles that are in front of you. These were really created to drive the delivery of engines that support public service outcomes and empower audiences. But also, along with the 6 principles, we've developed an accompanying checklist. And this is a list of questions for practitioners. So it makes it a bit more real, I guess, rather than just making statements. For our practitioners to work through and drawing on best practices from both within the BBC and wider industry. So when we've developed, and this is our very first iteration, we're actually working on our next iteration at the moment, which should be coming in the next couple of months. But we did share them with third-party organizations and academics that we would typically tend to collaborate with for their responses and their kind of thoughts on them as well. And I'm happy to share these externally with anyone who's interested as well. So I guess, it's important to say again that success for the BBC is really in creating, or is totally in creating outcomes that serve everyone. And so in order to make this happen, we need the conversation around machine learning and machine learning decision making to be inclusive, which is why we don't just have a data science team sitting down and developing a set of principles for themselves to work by, but we have all of these different areas coming together and making sure that we have like a cohesive framework. And then more recently, the community has launched a range of useful tools and resources, and I won't go into too much detail because I appreciate for non-BBC folks, it's probably not that interesting, but also I think, again, anyone thinking of developing community-based resources, and this is probably quite useful. So we've set up an internal online space to make it easier for anybody who works at the BBC to tap into the information, documents, useful resources around AI and ML in one place, because we found previously we had lots of different information, but bringing it together has proven quite useful for people, and we continue to build on that. And then alongside that, and on there we host things like our blog posts and our podcasts and, our OKRs and our machine learning principles and all that. But there are two pieces in particular that we've developed, which will be developed, continue to be developed for a long time, but that have been kind of big pieces of work that we didn't have before. So the first is we kind of did a mapping of ML across the organization. So trying to highlight where ML is being designed and developed and delivered in different areas. And like I say, it's not a complete map. It probably never will be. I hope it never is, because we need to, the more we do, the more we keep adding to it. But the idea really is that it makes it easier to find the right people to talk to, and therefore to facilitate collaboration. So if I want to kick off a project and I want to use certain machine learning techniques or tools, that I can find the right people in another part of the organization that I may otherwise not be aware of. And then aligned with that, we also created a register. So we've put this in Confluence. And it's basically a list of all of the projects and initiatives and groups that we know are covering the kind of AI and ML piece broadly. And then each of those has a separate page that you can go into more detail around who's running these projects, what tools and techniques they're using, what phases they're at, etc. And again, it's just another valuable community resource. And it's both a reference point for ongoing activity, but also, I guess, in time it will be an archival repository, so we can look back at what we did in the past. I guess just to kind of make the point that ever since like 2017, the community has been growing from strength to strength and delivering, a uniquely BBC annual conference and recommendations, engines, and we're personalizing audience members' experiences of their products, their love products such as iPlayer and Sans. And there's lots of different places to tap into. So, if you want to get involved, whether you're BBC or not, there's many, many opportunities for collaboration and learning. Let me know if we can support you or help you or get you involved in any way. I guess before I close, it's just important to kind of note that raising awareness and educating people around opportunities and implications of machine learning doesn't happen by itself. It has been a labor of love for myself and quite a few other people. It takes quite a lot of intention and planning and effort. But I guess in my experience, I have to say it's vital that the community has the backing of dedicated senior stakeholders. In BBC Design and Engineering, we're very fortunate. Our Chief Technology and Product Officer, Matthew Pusgate, he really believes in bringing the BBC through this, to machine learning and then through it as well. So it's quite a journey. And I guess my advice for anybody who's kind of like thinking around building community from what I've said tonight, to not underestimate the effort and dedication, but it really is worth it. And we have, there's so many great examples of collaboration and things happening, that without the community it would be a very, very different story. And I guess like how we react to and interact with the world around us is increasingly mediated by technology and data and ML, and that's not going to change. And like I said, the systems, machine learning systems, are becoming increasingly prevalent in both our private and public lives. And it is a truly transformational time of immense technological advancements. So we it's good to embrace it. So I would like to leave you with one final thought. Max Tegmark urges us to think about what we want society to look like. So he argues that until we establish the destination, we can't properly steer the engine, and by that he means, or in this context, the machine learning systems. He asserts that the more we come to rely on technology, the more important it becomes that it's robust and trustworthy in doing what we want it to do. So I'd just like to leave you with that kind of idea that we must work together to design and develop ML responsibly and for humanity, with all of humanity in mind. So thank you. My contact details are there if anyone has any questions outside of, I will take a few questions now, I know, or you just want to contact me at any point, and feel free to do so. Thank you.